with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. Back east will be Jumbo Josh, but right now, she's Gabulous. What's up, guys?
What up?
Not much,
Hi,
man.
guys.
Hi, Gabby. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What did you do that was so great on MMA Tonight? Shout out to those guys. They were giving you some props there at the end.
Well, we got a little bit into like a bad date debate, so I kind of had to share stories about some bad dates that I've been on before.
I see.
Do you want to know how my day goes, George, when they're doing their show?
Sure.
All right. So sometimes I have my headset on and I can hear them, and sometimes I'm working. When I can hear it get really loud, it means Gabby's going off. So I throw on my headset, and sure enough, she's going off. But I had some things to do, so I was in and out. And I swear, when I would put my headset back on, they would be talking about the strangest things. And I kind of like that I don't know how you guys transitioned into any of this stuff. But it was odd. Today was an odd show, right, Gabby?
It was odd, but very entertaining, I think.
Very entertaining, yeah.
Yeah. RJ knows how to kind of spin an MMA story into something else going on. And, yeah, it definitely gets interesting at times, that's for sure. A little personal, but
they turned into brother and
sister
sister
radio.
Today.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know those guys badger Josh and hammer Josh, and at the end I heard him say, "Gabby, great contributions and this and that," and I thought, I wonder if they're poking Josh or something must have gone down.
Well, I think Josh actually stumped them today.
Did he?
Yeah. Check this out. So they have a rejoin that says and welterweight champion Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy never won the welterweight championship. He fought for it.
Correct. Title contender.
But Josh was smart enough to say, but he has been a welterweight champion because he was a Cage Warriors welterweight champion.
Oh, okay.
So technically he's
So
right.
I missed that. Did he say he didn't say UFC. He just said.
Right.
Okay.
So technically he's right,
Sure, yeah. That
Yeah.
works. Cage Warriors is a respected organization. A lot of good fighters have come through there, including Michael Bisping, soon to go in the Hall of Fame. Conor McGregor, biggest name in the history of our sports.
Yeah.
In our sports, sorry.
So Josh won one today.
Did they give in or did they push back?
RJ will never give in, but that's about as close as you'll get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, catch them again Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They kind of switch their crew around a little bit, but it's RJ Clifford, AJ Hawk, Dan Hardy, Misha Tate, soon to join the program again. As you all know, she moved to Singapore, and I think she's slowly transitioning. And Big Mac, Ryan McKinnell. Did I miss somebody? No, right? That's them.
Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith, that's right. Wait, Jimmy Smith.
Yep. Yeah. Jimmy
Because
Smith is with
Jimmy's
Ryan
filling
McKinnell
in
on
for
Wednesdays.
Misha.
Yep.
Correct. All right, yeah, got to give him some love. Faux show. All right, guys. Let's start off with, speaking of Misha, you catch Breaking Barriers goes on the UFC Fight Pass?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Interesting how Ronda can just stir the pot one way or another.
They can't be more night and day, huh?
Yeah.
Like even if somehow,
Well, whether it's them two or just Ronda's disdain for someone or something or some people.
Yeah,
or
it's the weirdest thing, dude. It really is.
Mm.
We met her long before she became very famous.
We get to meet them when they're pure and they
she
haven't been
was like
tainted
the
by the
girl
sport.
Ever.
Big time. Even when she was an amateur fighter, we met her. She was very, very happy, always smiling. Remember, people used to call her, who's that actress? Julia Child? Or who's that one?
Oh,
that kind of looks like her?
That's the chef.
That's the chef, sorry.
Julia Stiles, right?
Yeah, maybe. Everybody used to say, well, she's got a little bit of her and, whatever, compared to a few other girls. But she was always smiling and just happy to be a mixed martial artist. Granted, at the time, she was armbarring everybody in less than 10 seconds, but still, pleasant. Came by our studio, no problem. when you ran into her, would say hello, and then all of a sudden, dude, superstardom, fame, power, all of it mixed combined, and I think she had some interactions with fans, maybe media, maybe other fighters or whatever, and the problem is she threw this big blanket over anyone attached to MMA and just felt like you're all the same, and it's me versus all of you except me and Trav.
I know you're going to say that you wouldn't, but if you made the money she made and achieved the popularity that she achieved, would you change? Be honest.
To the degree of her?
Nah, just like, well, maybe not to the
or change.
degree
Yeah,
of her,
change.
but
Yeah,
like
I'm sure I would change.
a noticeable change.
But I would definitely not try and.
You wouldn't have less time for nonsense? I would.
Yeah, but I still feel like someone's always listening, someone's always watching. So even if I was gonna try and be slick about it, you know what I mean? So let's just say that I really do hate the fans, but I think I'd be smart enough to go, well, the fans, if not for them, I don't exist, so I'll play the part. You see what I'm saying? Even though I don't think I would ever get to the point where I would hate them. I mean, dude, your connection with the fans is probably the coolest thing in the sport. Everybody keeps saying the money, and I always believed like guys like Dustin Poirier, the way he holds that belt and how much that belt means to him. There's a few out there that it means a little bit to all of them. Even in WWE, when you're basically scripted into winning, it's when Vince decides or something along the lines. You still see that they put in a lot of work just to get in the position for when Vince might decide that it's your turn to be a world champion, and even they have their moment where they're very emotional. But regardless, I would think that the coolest thing is the fact that it would be that connection with the fans. And it's disappointing to me that outside of MMA as well, too many athletes just don't embrace that. Like, I get pissed when those soccer players from Manchester United just go straight to the tunnel. Dude, you got two arms, stick them out and high five, or go around and do the clap back to the traveling ones, to the home one. It means so much to them.
I don't like when they're holding the kid's hand and they don't really like pay attention to him. Like every now and again, like Rooney will kind of give one a little shot in the arm.
Yeah,
like, hey, you ready to go? Like
it's the greatest thing ever.
That is for that kid.
I know, it's the greatest thing ever, and I guess maybe they take it for granted or what, but. Every Friday you log on and somebody's depositing 200,000 pounds into your account, and you can go off and spend it and be an idiot. Then yeah, I guess you're living on another planet. Who knows? But listen, let me get back to breaking barriers with Ronda and Misha. Here's some cuts from both of them. We'll just go 1 through 5, but we'll react to them as we go, and I want to see what Junkie Nation thinks. And by the way, we are going to get to some guests today. We're going to start off this way, but see, I'm all thrown off here with all the storytelling and all that. To participate in the show, it's 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. You can reach the whole channel on Twitter at MMA on SiriusXM. I'm at MMA Junkie George, and Goes is at The Goes. The radio show is at MMA Junkie Radio, and we tend to look at it from time to time. So leave us a comment, ask a question, go for it, no problems. Our guest today will be Chris Curtis from PFL. He'll be joining us at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Walt Harris from the UFC, 9:20 p.m. Eastern, 6:20 p.m. Pacific, and Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former boxing lightweight champion, 9:40 p.m. Eastern and 6:40 p.m. Pacific. All right, here we go with Ronda in cut number 1. This is Ronda and Misha on Breaking Barriers, which is on the UFC Fight Pass.
I don't know if you guys even deserve to hear it, to be honest, because how I feel about myself and my own legacy is something precious to me, and so you don't get to hear it. You just get to have your own opinion of my legacy.
Why is that?
I have no idea. Why not? I mean, she could say she doesn't care about what we think.
Or she could
That
tell
would make
us
more sense.
80% of her own, what she feels about her own legacy, and maybe keep the most private of private to yourself. But I don't get it. Like, I feel like maybe she overthought that.
Maybe, right? Maybe sometimes people just get caught up in trying to give the coolest answer and just I don't know. She seemed, what was it, Ellen, when she went on after was it Holly Holm?
Mm-hmm.
That loss. And, yeah, she broke down, but I think a lot of people appreciated her honesty. I don't know why she can't go back to being that person.
All right, this is Misha Tate, cut number 2, talking about fighting.
I did not choose fighting. Fighting chose me. I was young. I was 19 years old. I had come out of high school from wrestling, and I was just looking for something to fill my competitive spirit, and came across mixed martial arts.
So I was just gonna say that she wrestled. She chose to wrestle, and I guess she had the competitive juices of, a one-on-one sport versus maybe a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
But without those talents, somebody I don't think approaches her and says, "How would you like to try this?"
Probably.
So I think there's a little bit of, it's probably 75% fighting chose her, but I think she also chose fighting because of those competitive juices. I think everybody's got a little bit of that. Even just a 5-year-old taekwondo, I'm going there to get bullied. Well, why'd you go for the next 5 years? Now you can kick the whole school's ass. Well, I liked it. I fell in love with the martial art. And
do you think those two would ever get along ever in life?
Chicks be tripping, and I'm thinking. See, Misha's already started a family. Ronda wants to start a family, and I was thinking maybe like in 20 years, but it would be. I think they could come to agree to be in a room and maybe talk about a rivalry, but I just don't see both. But more than likely, Ronda snickering and saying something as the other one walks out.
I'm just saying, have a dinner together.
No.
It wouldn't be on Misha's side, though.
Right.
Because I think even if because I don't think she hates Ronda as much as Ronda hates her.
Right.
But I think even if they got past that, even if it really did bother her, I think she could just get past it. I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes I think the rivalry is bigger in Ronda's head than what it really was.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, this is Misha Tate talking about the struggles at first competing in mixed martial arts.
I absolutely felt inequality at first. The guys did not appreciate that a woman was on the mat. This was their space. This was their sanctuary, and I absolutely didn't belong.
Well, I think if she's talking about the practice room, I can't comment on that. But I've never known, even in 2007 when we were going to Extreme Couture, I never felt like that was in any way an issue. Now, then again, Kim Couture was running the whole gym, and so who was going to say anything to her? She was getting her taste for fighting, competing in fighting. So I don't know how other gyms have been, but I will say, as far as like fans embracing the sport, I know a lot of males, including yours truly, that showed either zero or little interest. So I know I'm guilty of that.
I think she's probably more alluding to the Washington days, right? And back then, teams weren't really that big.
Oh, I see.
So I could see, if you're in a room with 10 people, I could see something like that happening. But you're right. At a gym like Extreme Couture, there's 40 to 50 people there. If anybody was acting a fool, there's just more people that would say, man, quit being dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And things wouldn't be like that. So, yeah, I think, I don't want to speak for her, but I would think that's more probably the Washington days.
Look, even the United States as a country, I would say Major League Soccer, when it started in 1994, even it was getting shunned. Not everybody was embracing it. Every team had 10,000 supporters that were going to every game. Columbus, I think, could get 20. You know what I mean? And on big occasions, I remember the LA Galaxy would do well. So, yeah, I'm not saying nobody went, but I'm saying, media and a lot of fans of the Big Four just kind of gave it no love. Felt like that's something that they do in South America or Europe or something like that. So, I don't think it's, it pertains to just, I think both genders have experienced this in different, one-on-one sports, team sports. My problem was mostly one thing that stood out to me was Christy Martin in boxing. Nobody could really touch her.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson would fuck somebody up in 50 seconds, and half hour before, Christy Martin was putting it on someone. It just wasn't competitive. Now, it was fun to watch. I guess a one-sided beating maybe. especially like if you were betting on either side, hoping that this is the one, this is my Buster Douglas, whatever. But I didn't feel like it was competitive. Like if they brought someone else, I didn't feel like a league could be formed and there could be enough interest to have like a regular season or a playoff. Same thing with the WNBA. I kind of didn't like it at first. I mean, I probably am not the biggest fan, but when they first started, I lived through this. Yeah, I lived through it, and each team had like 2 or 3 good players, and then there was a horrific drop-off after that.
I feel like in women's mixed martial arts, you can watch a fight and still feel like you're watching mixed martial arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with if you were to do, especially soccer. I think those mesh well. But for some reason, boxing, it's just different from the males and the females, just because, you're not going to get a lot of dunking, a lot of those type of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a different sport. But early on, I mean, I think females mixed martial arts probably grown a lot quicker than I thought it would.
Yes, and it started getting more competitive. You didn't just have, I mean, even in the Ronda era, she was blasting everybody.
Mm-hmm. But so was Hoist Gracie.
And so was Cyborg. Correct, yeah. But Hoist Gracie did it for like 2 or 3 shows, and that was it. Ronda had like a 5-year run.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I don't think we all have to like everything. Okay, here's Ronda cut 4 talking about when she shares with her family that she wants to do mixed martial arts.
When I told my mother that I wanted to do MMA, she straight up said it was the stupidest fucking idea she ever heard in her life, and that it was as stupid as me telling her I wanted to do professional crochet, and it doesn't matter how good I am at fucking crocheting, no one gives a shit about it. That's my mom, That's my mom for you.
So what do you say now? Not bad. I mean, you don't got very many plays, right, if that's what you really say.
Her mom was with the exception of home.
Her mom's very smart, though.
The home fight, I believe she was at every fight, along with her sisters, cheering loudly, proud as could be. Probably just didn't have like an educated opinion on the sport. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Her mom is very, very smart, and I think she figured it out and at the end was embracing it. But I think there was a little bit of a falling out prior to that Holly Holm fight, from what I've kind of heard behind the scenes. But it was only for maybe that fight. I think they're pretty close. And then she got married. I know the mom was there and all that stuff. But for the most part, it was just that one fight. It had nothing to do with traveling overseas, but the mom was not at that fight. That I know. All right, last cut. This is Dana, of course. Ronda, of course, talking about Dana's hesitancy for mixed martial arts, and it was Ronda Rousey, for those that don't know, that pretty much changed his mind.
I saw him do that famous TMZ interview where he was like, never, woman, never in the UFC. And I remember thinking at that moment, like, that's just because he hasn't met me. Well, I knew that I was the right person at the right time. I could see that everything was primed to happen. I could see something that nobody else did. And I just felt like I was the perfect person at the perfect time to see the opportunity.
Now, normally when I hear a superstar athlete say shit like that, I'm like, shut up. You couldn't have known. You, from where you started to where you wound up, you couldn't have pictured all that. But on this one, she was so dominant and tough enough, and because she had experienced the Olympics and kind of knew that her skill set would be very, very formidable just by watching. And remember, there wasn't a big sample size of female athletes out there. You know what I mean?
There was hardly any.
Right. Who can you think of, like Jan Finney, Kaylin Young, Cyborg, Gina Carano? And they, some would dip in and dip out, and some wouldn't fight for a long time. Megumi Fujii, Jessica Aguilar. I mean, but again, some were in another weight class. I think she was able to forecast that she could have success, and I think she knew she had a look to her. And remember, she also knew combat sports through judo, Jean LaBelle. So I think she had an idea. Now, an idea that she would become what she was, with Sports Illustrated and all those pay-per-view buys, Good Morning America, all that stuff. Maybe not that, but at least that she could be a world champion the same way she saw someone like a Cyborg do it, or any of the other females that were winning, at Invicta or the Bellator tournament, whatever.
Well, remember when they did like Fatal Femmes and all that? They had a few cards here and there that were all female, and nobody really shit on them. They were interesting.
I went to that one in L.A. I think it was at USC campus or the Shrine Auditorium, maybe. I can't remember. But I went with, do you remember Aaron True?
Yeah.
I went with him.
Well,
we had 2 tickets, and I guess we gave one away or something, and he was the one that met me there, and
cool.
He wound up going. Yeah. What happened to Aaron True?
He was working with the Clippers, I think, for a while, and I don't know if he's still doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? The LA Clippers?
Mm-hmm.
What was he doing with them?
I want to say video editing or something.
Oh, okay. Nothing in front of the camera?
No.
Oh, nice. All right. Listen, so we're saying on the WMMA topic, and again, we'll take your calls at any point, 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. I know we have one right now ready to queue up, but I just want to give an update on Angela Magana. She has come out of her coma. So that's a start.
Mm-hmm. Talking a little bit, too.
And I'm sure there's a long road to recovery, which eventually some might wonder, will she ever fight again? Let's not worry about that right now. Exiting the coma, I think, is a start. And remember, she's a mother of 3. Let's treat her like a human being. Let's just hope she regains her health first. Mm-hmm. And then we'll worry about the rest. But I thought that was a really nice update to read this morning on MMA Junkie. All right, who do we got? Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's your time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Hey, you know what? I was just excuse me. We were talking about after the fight, the Max and Dustin fight, man, about how Max had so much class, man, in the feet. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking, it's interesting that this Ronda Rousey video, audio, whatever surface, man, she is so what I wouldn't want my kids to be, man, as far as like she act like a brat, man. Between her and Misha, man, it's just so much different, just how humble and sweet Misha is, man, to just how Ronda is just so, like, man, I don't know, man. I think she has issues that's deeper than we may know about, man, because that's I don't know, just to be that vindictive, man, and to hold a grudge, man, that's I don't like that, man.
The only thing I can think of, Showtime, is maybe she has to be that way to get the things that she wanted. Maybe she'll be different when she retires, but maybe she had to be callous to achieve the things that she achieved.
That's interesting. If Ronda were to hear what Showtime said, I also think Ronda's very smart, not just her mother. I think she's pretty smart as well. I wonder if something like that would give her a knee-jerk reaction. Because that right there, without using an F-bomb or any other, the B word, whatever, the C word, that right there is probably as cold as you can get to describing somebody. I would not want my daughter to be like her, but I would like the other one. If you hear that and you have a half a brain, you'd go, holy shit. Goes, after the show, I gotta talk to you. I'd pull you aside and go, am I really that bad? You know what I mean? So that was interesting that you said that, Showtime. And I don't think you're far off. I think most people would agree.
And think about it, man. The crazy thing about it is everybody liked Ronda. When Ronda first, when she hit the scene, man, and we watched Ronda grow. We watched her grow, man, and as her popularity continues to grow, we love Ronda, man. It's like when she faced defeat, she didn't know. It's almost like that spoiled kid as everything went right, and now it's time to man up or woman up and face some real life situations, and you can't handle it.
Maybe.
She just, I don't know. That's just such a turnoff, man. Especially with me playing athletics myself. I didn't play on the pro level. I played on the small pro level and worked out for teams. But I had buddies, man, that made $100 million, man. And let him rest in peace. My buddy Steve McNair, man, almost made $100 million playing ball. But he was so humble, you could approach him at any time. That's why they loved him everywhere. Mm-hmm. He was humble. And I just hate when athletes don't, they just forget where they came from and they don't have that same humbleness that got them there, man.
Yeah. Good call, Showtime. Thank you. Thanks so much for chiming in there, but we got to head to our break. However, NBA fans, it's just tipping off. The Philadelphia 76ers are facing off against the Brooklyn Nets in Game 3 of their first-round playoff series. Enjoy all the thrilling play-by-play on NBA Radio, one of my favorites, by the way. It's Sirius 207, XM86, and streaming on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. When we come back, we'll be talking to Chris Curtis, PFL welterweight. He's headlining PFL. It's called Week 1, and it's a whole new description. It's basically PFL week 1 they're calling it, and it's how they're doing the regular season. He's facing Lewis Taylor, who's dropping from middleweight to compete at welterweight. That should be a good fight. We'll come back and we'll talk to Chris Curtis. All right, we're back. We're going to be talking to Chris Curtis here in just a sec. He's going to be facing Lewis Taylor at PFL 2019, Week 1. That's what I meant to say before the show. They're not going with the whole series of, PFL 8, PFL 12, or anything like that. Or at least this is what I'm hearing. Now, they're going to be fighting in Uniondale, New York, which is Long Island. And this is on May 9th. And remember, PFL is part of ESPN, so you can catch these fights on The Deuce, ESPN2, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and this again is on May 9th. On that card, also, Kayla Harrison, John Howard, Ray Cooper III, Sarah Kaufman. So, really, really, really nice card. All of these fights matter because it's a regular season that leads into a playoff, and PFL hit it out of the park in Season 1. I'm expecting a fun Season 2. Let's bring him in. Chris Curtis. How you doing, Chris Curtis? Good to have you on the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm good. It was kind of sad. I was learning about Arizona State University on the hold, and then you guys took it away. And I was getting interested.
What happened?
But outside of that, man, I'm good, man. I'm just tired, grinding away, but living the dream.
What were they saying about Arizona State?
I don't know. They kept giving really weird numbers. Like, they're fifth in the nation, and 87% of them. These are very strange numbers to give on there.
Huh.
It was just weird.
What sport were they talking about?
I don't know about people getting degrees and whatever. It was just very.
Oh,
I thought the numbers they
I know
very,
what it is.
Very strict.
You know what
I know what it is.
That's
it's
the only school I didn't get into.
It's a commercial that I've heard, and they're promoting that it's the top 5% of people that come out of that school that I guess start enjoying success using their degree. Yeah, something like that.
You know why they told me I didn't get in? Well, what they thought was
What?
because I'm Latino.
What?
Yeah.
That
I
was
think
the
all the other schools wanted me because I was Latino, and I guess I fill a quota.
Uh-huh.
And Arizona, because I guess I could tell you, Washington State was one, Virginia Tech was one. I got accepted to those schools, but I didn't get accepted to Arizona State, which made no sense.
But where did they say that you were Latino or something like that?
My
Is there
counselor.
a Latino quota they had filled? Like,
Yeah.
How does it work?
She was like, she kind of didn't want to break it to me. I think she felt bad. She was like, I think you got into these schools because you're Latino, and you didn't get into that one because they already had theirs.
Oh wow! All right.
Dude, I don't doubt it because like a long time ago I was supposed to fight in Bellator in Canada, and they randomly blocked my passport. I don't even have parking tickets. They blocked my passport and they blocked Paul Daly's passport. So I'm just assuming they reached their black people quota. And they're like, sorry, gotta wait.
Wow.
Never figured that one out, but that's what I went with.
Did that escalate to like a warrant, the parking ticket, or was it just a parking ticket?
No, I didn't even have parking tickets. It was just Canada was like, your passport's been blocked. I was like, why? And they wouldn't say, and it never got resolved. I've gone to Canada since, just that one time. They were just like, you can't come.
No way, really?
You learn how to speak for black people.
Damn.
Canada was so strange.
And you got to. I know it's strict to get in there. Like, do you have a pretty clean record?
Dude, I go to Canada all the time now. I don't even have parking tickets. My record's perfect.
Because I know some people couldn't get in because of DUIs, and they were like cornering other fighters, and they were like, "Oh, that's right, 10 years ago I made a mistake or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they're pretty strict. With
I've heard about that. But I don't even have parking tickets. They were just like, "No, you can't come." They never explained why.
You never got a ticket ever?
No, dude, I don't like my record is perfect. Like.
What do you got, like a Sentra or something? You don't even speed?
Dude, gone out of my way to stay off the radar.
Okay, all right. But you're in Temecula, man. I mean, we don't have a police. It's not like you're in LA. You don't have a problem with...
I'm in Vegas now.
Oh, you're in Vegas. What the hell are you? Why aren't you here in our studio? We're in Vegas. We'd love to have you in studio and chop it up. What part of Vegas?
Someone mentioned, Lance Palmer mentioned, not Lance Palmer, Lance from Radio mentioned this actually. He's like, there are studios in Vegas. I moved to Vegas about 2 months ago.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, next time we'll do this. I don't know if you heard me during the commercial. I know you were so caught up in the whole Arizona State thing. But I was saying that I was at your fight for Dana White Contender Series, and I was bummed that they didn't choose you, And I remember...
Not more bummed than me, I promise you.
Well, I know. But I remember you had like a little short retirement, and I think it was Sam Alvey I was talking to, one of your teammates, and I was like, you got to talk him out of it. He's at a good age, and at the time I think you were 18-5, so you had a solid record, And I just knew that, if you had another run in you, I think you could do pretty well in this sport, So I'm glad your name popped back up, and now you're fighting for PFL, chance to win $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah, man. You know what? I don't know. I don't really know what else I was going to do with my time. Like, I spent the last 12 years concentrated solely on fighting. I'm going to retire. I'm sitting around looking around like, man, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 right now. And then I'm like, I don't really have any other easily marketable skills that can be monetized. So I was like, well, Chris is back to fighting.
Okay. Where do you train? In Vegas?
I'm at primarily at Syndicate MMA. I do some sparring down at Extreme Couture, but primarily at Syndicate, and then I do my jiu-jitsu at 10th Planet, the Swamp.
Okay. And your ties to Team Quest, do you still have an open door there, or?
Yeah, I just moved out here. It's I had, with this is just the biggest opportunity I've had in my career, and I just, I know I've been to Vegas before. I've trained out here before. I know just the sheer amount of bodies and whatnot are here. Like, it's way more than any place I've ever been. You can go to any gym in Vegas, and there's, always a packed mat full of, high-level guys, world-class guys. So it's like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, so I'm going to make the most of it. So I relocated, came out here. I still love Team Quest, and it's still, it's still my home. I want to be back out there after this is over, but for right now, I've got access to 90 guys on any given day who are like world-class athletes. So
right,
it's just practical of me.
If you look back at your record, every year you've had at least, it looks like, 3 fights. And my question was going to be, have you already built yourself up for this season? Because I think part of the season, aside from winning, is staying healthy, you know what I mean, and fighting smart. There's a little bit of a strategy to it all. But what kind of advice have you been told by any of the people that you know as far as just, getting through the regular season and prepping yourself to be, on point for the playoffs, which is when you compete for the $1 million prize?
It's just funny, man. Like, Vinny Magalhaes is just like, don't get injured. And, all the other guys are like, just don't get injured. But for me, I try to get 3 fights a year, but I've always tried to fight more. I guess it's hard for me to get those fights. Assuming I don't break anything like the freak accident at Contenders, I'm not worried about it, honestly. Like, I stay pretty healthy. I stay in decent shape all the time. Even when I'm out of shape, I'm not really out of shape. I'm a durable dude. I'm still getting older, but I'm still pretty young. Like, it's just nice knowing that I have all my fights planned out this year. Like, I have X amount of fights. I've always got something to look forward to, which means, I always have a target in front of me, lets me stay focused. I'm excited. I'm not sweating it at all. Like, it's kind of freeing to think, okay, I've got X amount of fights in a year. Like, let's not mess up.
Who will be your coaches on fight night?
My corner is going to be Sean Strickland, and for the first one, it'll be Sean Strickland and John Wood of Syndicate MMA. Casey Holstead from 10th Planet was going to be my third, but he's got family vacation. I didn't want him rushing back for that, even though he's going to. But I'm more than comfortable with John and Sean being in my corner.
Gotcha. All right, we're talking to Chris Curtis here. He'll be fighting at PFL, and it's called PFL 2019 Week 1 on May 9th, the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. He faces Lewis Taylor, who won $1 million as he was the middleweight champion in Season 1, but now he's jumping to welterweight because PFL has no middleweight season this year. They did away with that weight class to welcome the women's lightweight division, or basically to welcome Kayla Harrison. But anyway,
Kayla Harrison division.
Exactly. But this is going to be a really, really competitive division. Like I mentioned earlier, you still got Magomed Karamov. You got John Howard, Ray Cooper III. It's going to be a good one. All right, let me turn it over to Goes here. Goes, what do you have for Chris Curtis?
Chris, so when you look at the guys in your division, there's so many different skill sets. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun in that division in particular. Lewis Taylor, do you feel like he's going to have to change at all going from middleweight to welterweight? Do you feel like his game will just be the same?
He's an old dog. I know he's learned some new tricks, But at the end of the day, you know, he's a 40-year-old man. He won $1 million fighting a certain way. I don't think he's going to really change that too much. I mean, I wouldn't change that too much. It worked once, you know, why not try it again? Unfortunately, you know, like, no disrespect. I love the dude. I didn't think he was going to. He shocked me last year. But at the same time, you've won in the weakest division, which is why that division doesn't exist anymore. Like, 170 has always been one of those, you know, murderer's row divisions where it's just a different. I always joked and said 170 is the last division to where, like, you know, you have to have equal measures of physical ability and technique. And, like, you know, as you get heavier, it starts to kind of, like, lean one way or the other. And I'm like, you know, he's going to see it's so much different at 170. He'll fight the same, but, you know, he's fighting different monsters at welterweight now.
Because of the season and the playoffs and all that comes with PFL, do you think it's going to take time to kind of generate a rhythm, so to speak, for like your year and just the training and just the feeling once you're in the cage, or is it going to feel just like any other fight?
I'm 25 fights into my pro career. I've had like 22 amateur fights. At this point, it's all the same to me. Like, I'm not really worried. Like, I don't get excited anymore. It's just I know I have to go out there, have to fight. I recognize that, I recognize that getting excited is not going to help me or change anything. It's just a fight to me at this point. You know, it's a big fight, but it's something I'm prepared for. I train 7 days a week, with or without a fight. Like, you know, only thing that changes is my diet, honestly. So nothing's different for me. I just now, you know, I definitely can't get fat between fights. That's pretty much it.
That was our downfall in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, right? It's everyone's downfall. Oh, man. I want ice cream so bad. Like, ice cream and a double, like, bacon cheeseburger. Oh.
Well, now we got you. If you bring that up, we got to ask you, all right, where do you get the ice cream from, what flavor, and then the double bacon cheeseburger from what place?
What's your favorite spot?
Cold Stone Creamery for the ice cream. We do a large pie who loved me. And it's just amazing. But on the flip side, the issue is it's always so big that I get sick eating it. The burger back home in Cincinnati, these two places were next door to each other. Then you go to Five Guys, and you get the double bacon, the triple bacon cheeseburger, because you have them add 2 patties and bacon with the bacon and cheese, barbecue sauce, jalapenos. That is that's the last thing I eat before I have to go into camp again.
There's a Five Guys in Vegas. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've already scoped it out. Like, I already know.
All right, cool.
You know, I still have never gone to Five Guys.
Really?
I have nothing against it. I want to try
I'll give it up, man.
But I think I'm going to try what
you probably eat that nonsense called In-N-Out, don't you?
You know, okay, I'm a California guy, and I like In-N-Out. I think it's good, but I don't think it's as great. Like, I don't think it's that much better than any other burger. And it's weird because when East Coast people come here, they love In-N-Out, and then we love Five Guys. It's kind of strange, but I like it. I don't love it, though.
I've had In-N-Out 3 times, and every time it disappointed me. And I'm just like, you know what? I'd rather have Wendy's.
Wendy's is my favorite.
Yeah, Wendy's is real good. All right. And here's a little secret, Chris Curtis, since you still have ties to Temecula. When you go back and forth, the Del Taco in Barstow is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I just drove through Barstow a few weeks ago, and, like, I have recently discovered Del Taco because being from the Midwest, we don't have Del Tacos. So I have grown to love Del Taco. It is glorious.
Right. Well, just make a note of it. In Barstow, it's like one of the original stores, so they go out of their way to pack their burritos or make their burgers tasty. It's a little Cali secret.
All right, well, shoot, I pass through Cali to get to my lady's house when we go visit her dad. So we'll stop at Barstow. We pass through Barstow, yeah.
All right.
So that'll be on my list.
All right. Well, you can't do it until after May 9th. In the meantime, I hope you have a safe camp. Hopefully we get to meet you here in Vegas sometime. And good luck against Lewis Taylor.
Yeah, dude, hit me up, man. I'm always around here, so definitely just let me know. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll see you. Take care.
Later, guys.
All right, that was Chris Curtis. Big shout out to Greg Savage for lining that one up. Getting ready goes. We're already in April, and here's season 2 getting ready to kick off. PFL 2019 week 1. It's I can tell here it's the women's lightweight and a lot of welterweights. They always kind of focus on a couple divisions. You know what I mean? Sometimes they'll sprinkle around if somebody needs an additional week or two for injuries as the season progresses. But they did really, really well in season 1, and I'm looking for a more buttoned up season 2 on ESPN.
Nice,
ESPN
right?
Plus, ESPN 2, yeah, huge for them. All right,
Can we just mention that a current SiriusXM employee and Fight Nation employee as well, Sean O'Connell, won $1 million on season 1? I just think that's worth it.
That was awesome. I was at I was at 2 of his fights. I went to a fight night where he had to fight twice in one night.
Oh, I got stuck on a
and
plane
that
ending
was
for that
so cool. Oh, that's right. You really were supposed to go there.
Yeah,
I
I
forgot.
was sitting on the runway for like 2 hours.
Yeah, no, that was really, really a fun night. I went with Gabe's nephew, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
He brought his little buddy with him. Carl, remember Carl from the Tag Radio days?
Yeah.
Carl Simon. He's in town. He's actually in town. He might come by tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was with. And then there was, a few other junkies as well. Juan Lee met us. It was a fun night, man. Anyway, all right, we got to take a quick break here. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. When we come back, it'll be time for the Daily Debate.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food, less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Gambling. Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy. Or even social media. Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Here we go. Today's Daily Debate question for the at MMA Junkie Radio crew, Goes and I. Of the 4 fighters with the most UFC experience before winning a title, which road was the toughest? Here are your choices. Michael Bisping, Rafael dos Anjos, Robbie Lawler, or Dustin Poirier. Goes?
This one's a tough one, man. I'm going to side with Michael Bisping. Every single one of those guys that he faced presented, they all had these different skill sets. It just kind of seemed like a nightmare type fight for him in every single one. Some of them he benefited from decisions, and some of them he didn't. But I thought his road was pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. Man, for me, that's an excellent choice. But Robbie Lawler at one point was out of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. I mean, it looks like the question, obviously, without being specific, it is implying the UFC title.
Yeah.
All right. Now, all these
but
other
the road
fighters,
there can be, I mean, you can add Icon, right? That was Frank Trigg.
Mm-hmm.
Even going over to Strikeforce, he had Melvin Manhoef. Remember that fight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I would consider that being part of that road to get to that title shot. If he doesn't win those fights, he doesn't show up there, right?
Right. When he came up, well, I think part of it was like, we're just buying Strikeforce, and so they had to, certain fighters had to finish out contracts or whatever. Robbie Lawler luckily had a name, and I can't remember if he was exactly popping at the time. When we came to the UFC, he dropped from 85 to 70, and then, I mean, look at that. He had stiff tests.
Mm-hmm.
When he came to the UFC, he had some really, really tough fights early on, too, because that is, like Chris Curtis said, it doesn't matter where you're fighting. If you're fighting at 170, be it Bellator, PFL, UFC, it is stacked with talent. And so, you know, GSP was still a member of the UFC at the time. Johnny Hendricks was chasing down George St. Pierre. And then you lose to Johnny Hendricks, and you got to fight him again. Only this time, he's out there saying, well, I only beat you with one arm last time. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I feel like he just kind of had like a longer road. I mean, he's old school Robbie Lawler.
He was my number 2,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason I sided with Bisping was I was thinking road, in other words, his fighters. But the one thing that I didn't think about was when he actually got the call, it was like on 2 weeks' notice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wasn't even ready, and he manned up, took the shot.
So it was like
those are like
a shitty opportunity.
Those
that
are
he made
really
the best out
bad
of.
circumstances.
I got
he took
you,
that
man.
a lot of fighters wouldn't take.
They all had really, really tough roads. You know, look, we can make a case for all of them. Rafael dos Anjos was just a guy that the UFC was. They never came into the matchmaker meeting on Tuesday and said, all right, where do we feature Rafael dos Anjos? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He was a guy that was good, probably like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10, but he wasn't like a 9.5 or 10, which is where they're placing their main eventers or co-main eventers. But all of a sudden, he rounded out that formidable jiu-jitsu game, picked up some Muay Thai with Cordero, and bam, became a world champion. And then Dustin Poirier, can't say enough about him. He had a hard road back. He got, you know, he lost a tough fight to Conor McGregor at 45. He moved up. He went through that stuff with Eddie Alvarez, the knockout by Michael Johnson, the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all had. This was an interesting question just because they all really did have long roads. But I guess I just felt like with Lawler, you know, having to take the time away from the UFC, he just had the longer road. Anyway, over 1,500 votes came in, and this is how it broke down. 59% agreed with goes. Michael Bisping. In second place, Dustin Poirier, 24%. Third place, Robbie Lawler, 14%. And in fourth place, Rafael dos Anjos, 3%. Here's a couple comments here from Junkie Nation. Michael McClendon, at Michael McClend, says, Lawler because he left the company and came back. All right, so that's kind of along the same way as myself. Chris Lovett, at Chris Lovett, says, Bisping, no question. So here's one that doesn't really present the strongest argument. It's at Barely Mental. And he says, I'm from Louisiana, so I might be biased. So I imagine his vote came in for Dustin Poirier. Thanks, Junkie Nation, the readers of the site, and the listeners of the show for chiming into the daily debate. All right.
Hey, can I throw one at you guys real quick? We got like 2 minutes till
Go ahead.
Who had the easiest road to a title?
Okay. Winning it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ronda Rousey, because she was just giving it to her. They just basically said, you are the champion. And they did the same thing for Dominic Cruz, I believe, Jose Aldo had to fight. Wow, I'm testing my memory here.
Easiest road. Okay.
Jose.
I'm gonna say you guys might strongly disagree with me.
That's not really answering Josh's question because Josh really wants to know like someone that had to go through fights.
Yeah.
But you know who almost had an easy one? Let's say I need 90 seconds to think about it. All right, so we'll reveal them when we come back. But here's one little bit of trivia. When Frank Trigg came over and fought Matt Hughes, that was his first fight, and he fought for a world title.
Mm-hmm.
Remember he had fought over in Japan?
Yeah.
He came over with a lot of hype, and they said, there you go, Matt Hughes. So if he had become a champion, it would have been on a debut night, UFC debut. But Josh's question is, who had the easiest road? So let's think of that question as far as who became a champion in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and, who had the least amount of steps to get there. So
I got mine.
You got yours?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll have to think of mine right now. That's a good question, Josh. You kind of stumped me. I can use
got
this.
the break to think on it.
I can use this time to think about it. Let's go to break early. All right, it's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. This time we'll be back in 80 seconds.
Carry a feature to make their show more enjoyable. It's called the mute button. Here are those two numbnuts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Before the break, Jumbo Josh asked an interesting question. Who had the easiest road to winning a title? Now, for all intents and purposes, we're just going to... He didn't specify, but let's talk UFC, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, Goes, you're going to have to take this one, I think. I think I'm going to upset you.
Oh, man.
And here's why.
You're going to steal?
Because when we do the fucking daily debate and the main event and co-main event breakdowns or whatever, you and Dan always go first. Or if it's just you and I, you go first. And then I got to sit there and I don't want to agree with you 5 times per week. So every once in a while, I'm like, all right, I'll go to my second choice. Right. Because I don't think there's wrong answers usually with daily debate. I think both cases can be made, or multiple cases can be made for different.
Otherwise, it'd be the daily dummy. One of us would be wrong every time, right?
Correct. Yeah, I was with you on Bisping as well, but I when you said
Bisping, Lawler was my number 2.
Well, yeah. So me too. So, but then I felt real good when I made the Lawler argument. Like I felt like if Stitch was here and he had to choose a winner, I was like, I think somebody would choose me. I think I made a strong argument. But regardless, this time I need to go first on this one.
All right.
The easiest road to the title was Jermaine Durandamy.
Oh, okay.
Because her and Holly Holm fought for the inaugural featherweight championship.
But I think, didn't we kind of clarify that Josh is looking more for like a real road?
I mean, that's why I got Ronda Rousey out of the way. Ronda Rousey was the Strikeforce champion, and they go, here's the belt. So that road don't get easier. So I think what he meant was, I think a fight had to take place, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, right. All right.
Okay, can I tell you? Well, no, you tell me first, and then I guess I'll tell you who else I had on my mind.
All right. Matt Serra.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. But that's a disrespect to Tough.
No.
Because he had to win Tough.
Yeah. He still had to win Tough. But versus what other fighters have to do, he had to fight other guys in his situation, right? He wasn't fighting young lion after young lion after young lion to get there. He was fighting guys that were in his same boat.
Yeah.
So it's no disrespect to him.
And then
it was just different, no?
He had to vanquish the great GSP.
Mm-hmm.
So that I get that. He had a bigger foe than Durandamy did over Home. And that's no disrespect to Home, because I would say the same thing to Home. Home beating Durandamy or Durandamy beating Home is not the monumental task of Serra having to beat GSP. I even think they would agree. But yeah, luckily I bought some time because the only other one was the one that Josh was saying. But I'll give credit to Josh. I guess we were just both on the same wavelength. He said Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva came in and he defeated Chris Lieben, and then he fought Rich Franklin for the title, and there you have it. Anderson Silva was champ. So he had one fight and then one to win the title. And mine was the featherweight division hadn't even been, hadn't really existed. Remember, Cyborg didn't want to be a part of that first fight, and so they went that other route. But anyway, that was a good one, Josh. Good stuff.
Man. I ain't no schmo.
Let's take this call from Brian in Boston. What's up, Brian? Brian in Boston, what's up?
Hey, boys.
Hi.
Hey, glad to hear you back on back live, guys. It's still the best show on the station. You guys,
thank you, sir.
You guys stay on topic more than others. Some of those other shows sort of drift off into other crap, but you guys stay on point.
I'm assuming somebody paid you to say that, because I feel like we're the opposite of that. But all right.
No, you're not the opposite of that. You guys stay on topic more than the other shows. If you listen to the other shows goes, you might know that.
Oh, see, what I did right now was take us off the topic, thus proving my point.
Yep, good point. I missed that.
Now shut up and get back on topic.
Easiest road to the title, I would have to say probably Cyborg. There was really nobody around for her to fight, so they kind of just handmade that whole division for her.
To be specific, Josh, when you meant the question, did you mean the quality of opponents or just the quickest amount of fights to wearing gold?
I hadn't really fleshed it out that far. I almost feel like there's two different ways to answer the question.
Right.
Well, one is a trivia question, and the other one's more of like an opinion.
I just thought of something. Conor McGregor, he just went, I'll fight for the lightweight title, and they said, here you go, and he beat Eddie Alvarez, and he was already a world champion, but he became a champion of another division. So that was a road of just the one fight, equal to what Jermaine Durandamy did. And so yeah, I guess now that I think about it, I guess Josh would have to just be a little bit more specific of what he was saying. Now, Brian makes an excellent point. Cyborg's head and shoulders above everyone else, but Holly Holm, to be fair, well, I mean, at the time we all thought that, but then Amanda Nunes came in and made her, made it look easy. So who knows, my man? But that's not a bad choice.
Hey, did you guys got time for me to touch on something else?
You know it, baby.
Okay. So, George, you mentioned earlier in the week that the start of this year, the fights have been off the chart, and they have been.
Mm-hmm.
And the main event and the co-main event from last weekend, although it's called mixed martial arts, that was almost a bare knuckle fight. Both of those fights, those four guys just stood in front of each other, very little kicking, very little wrestling, and just pounded away.
Their faces didn't look that much different than the bare knuckle guys' faces at the end.
The bare knuckle just had more cuts, but for the most part, the bruising and the swelling, it was pretty equal.
But we made this point the other day, and it's that what people had the problem with bare knuckle was the brutality. But if you look at, those fights were brutal too. And if you go over to boxing and you see the mismatches that were put in front of us, those were brutal too.
Yeah. And do you remember Edson Barbosa and Justin Gaethje, how bad they kicked each other?
Mm-hmm.
And so as much as the face hurts, I'm telling you, for the next week or two, when you're walking around with one leg, you're like, fuck, man, like this might even be worse. Your face is already clearing up, and you're still having, problems walking.
I have nightmares of getting kicked by Edson Barbosa. The dude's an animal. Hey, there is one sort of narrative that's floating around this last weekend's fights that's kind of bothering me.
Okay.
So now they're talking about Israel fighting Whitaker and Poirier fighting. Why does this name escape me right now?
Khabib,
there we go. But they're calling it unification fights. I don't see them as unification fights. I don't think we should buy into that narrative. It's not a unification fight because the other two guys are still the champ. They just put belts up on the line so they could charge money for pay-per-view. So I want the hardcores to push away from that unification nonsense.
What's a unification bout for you? Would it be if is it like you mean
champ
like WBA fights the WBC champ, two different organizations like that, or?
That's sort of how I view a unification fight, right? You know, the WBO, the WBA, and the WBC IBF.
Yeah.
You know, this is UFC. At the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, it's UFC. So this is not a unification fight.
In a way,
those guys have.
In a way, Brian has a point, and I'll tell you why. Because the interim title guys, they still want the undisputed title, right?
All right.
So Dustin is happy with his, and he has every right to be, because the champion wasn't able to defend, so he stepped into an arena where the best two competed for the title in case Khabib just either doesn't come back or can't come back or whatever. So I get that. But Dustin really wants Khabib's title. Khabib could care less about Dustin's title. So therefore,
I never thought of it that way.
Even though they're kind of unifying, like I don't know that Khabib doesn't become a grander champion by acquiring Dustin's belt, whereas Dustin would be happy to have both. You know what I mean? So I see his point. The only problem, Brian, is I just think that if you like what you're saying, it has some merit to it, but it's the equivalent of you're at a baseball stadium and you and three buddies go, "Hey, let's do the wave, 1, 2, 3," and out of 70,000, maybe 10 do it. Like only a few people are going to be feeling you, and only a few people are going to be like, "Oh man, I just don't feel like doing the wave," you know, like. But it's not to say that you don't have a valid point. I understand what you were kind of getting at, but I just don't see it picking up steam, and I see Dana probably shutting that down pretty quickly.
Of course, he's not going to listen to me.
Yeah, but we did. So,
all right, boys.
All right, my man. Good to hear your voice. All right, we'll see you. All right, Anderson Silva. That's who Josh said had one of the easier roads to winning the title, and he was not wrong at all. Went on to become one of the most decorated champions ever. He actually is fighting pretty soon. UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And he had a media day out in Brazil. Our Fernanda Prates was there, as well as some other journalists. And we have some cuts from his time there. So let's listen to Anderson Silva. First, why he's fighting Jared Cannonier.
That's the very interesting question, because everybody talking about fight this or this guy, but for me, I think it's more important you make something special for the fans. And in my opinion, and in my position now, I try to doing something very special for my fans. When I fight to Israel, everybody talking about why you fight this and why you take the fight. I say, because it's a good challenge for myself. For my mind,
Cannonier had one debut as a middleweight, but I think it was David Branch that he starched, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked good. Sometimes one fight, and all of a sudden you're like, when's he fighting again? You get pumped up. At the same time, it's not as easy as people think. Look, there's probably about 60 middleweights under contract in the UFC, but there's probably only like 10 that Anderson Silva would fight, maybe 12.
That makes sense.
Of those, some are already booked. Like, you can't say Gastelum? No, because he's fighting Adesanya. Adesanya? No, he's fighting Gastelum. They just fought. I'm pretending like this is what they were talking about a few weeks ago. Jacare? No, he's got Romero before he got injured. Romero? No, he's got Jacare. Hermanson? No, he's got a fight too. All this hadn't happened yet when he signed on to fight Cannonier. Whitaker? He's hurt. Rockhold? He moved up to 205. Weidman? He's hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you start running out, and I think you realize, okay. But the good thing is, he doesn't have to really sweat too much wrestling. I think Cannonier wants to turn his lights off, and Anderson probably wants to do the same thing to him. So I think there's just times where, you can fight in Rio de Janeiro where you would love to fight, and guess what happens at the end of the fight? You're handed a big old fat check. Sometimes it just makes sense.
Is it making sense for the UFC anymore? Anderson Silva? That's a big paycheck, right? You got to put up.
Yeah, it does. Anderson, they're not looking at it as I can't wait to see the Silva.
I mean, it helps
fight
in Brazil.
I think they know it'll be a good fight, but yes, exactly, it'll sell tickets in Brazil. No disrespect, obviously, to Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade. It's a quality champion versus number one contender, but you need a little bit of backup for that one, in my opinion. All right, now Anderson hasn't fought much lately. He's doing a quick turnaround. He'll tell us about this in cut number 2.
Now I have more time for training because the last fight I'm not fighting for 2 years, and I take the fight and I accept the challenge, but now I have more time. I finished the last camp training and I start this one, and I think this helped me to take more time for open my mind for old technique, and this is very, very special for me, especially because I fight again in Brazil. I'm so happy.
Yeah, he's at home, man. That's got many great memories there.
Yeah, I mean, he's earned
and
these
I
type
think
of things.
Fighting Adesanya, look, he didn't fight bad against Adesanya. He also hurt Adesanya. Adesanya hurt him. Adesanya won, and there was no controversy. But I think he's probably thinking, hold on a second. That guy just became interim champ. I just went with him. I mean, I'm older. He's peaking. He's. I don't even believe Adesanya's out of prime. So, why not? I can do this. Yeah, I don't think he had questions. We're years removed from the leg. He knows he's out of the title picture. Let's run it, right?
Yeah, the end of his career is starting to remind me a little bit of the end of Dan Henderson's career, where certain fights just kind of make sense. Why not, right?
Now, if he gets lit the fuck up by Jared Cannonier, and then they go, how would you like to fight in November? I think you go, okay, now I got to really think about that. I got to think about my swan song fight. It's got to be someone special, who's had a similar career to me. I put this young guy over. I think that's where it requires more thought. But coming out of that other fight with Adesanya, he probably thought, yeah, cool, Brazil, let's run it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, sometimes it's just about being in the right place at the right time. Now, speaking of retiring, he addresses this in cut number 3. This is retirement talk and basically will he ever wear gold talk. Let's do this one.
Absolutely. I never put in something in my mind about, I need to fight again for the belt and blah, blah, blah. No. Because that's the part of my life I pass, But I continue to fight. And I don't know, maybe I have the new opportunity for fight for the belt. I don't know. Yeah. But I'm not putting my all energy for, I need you back to fight for the title and blah, blah. No. That's the 2 points for me, The first point is just continue fight, continue do my heart for my sport. And the second one, maybe I have a chance or not for the fight for the belt again.
Here's how I think you should approach it. Similar to Bisping. Just start doing the things you want to do in life, whether it's just being a husband and a dad, or if you have entertainment opportunities, TV, movies, whatever. If the call's made and you have the right fights, great. No, of course, you got to have some sort of a streak. But I think wait for that call where you can maybe slide in, and if you're in the right place at the right time, sure, it's Anderson Silva. Dan Henderson did it when he tried to get the belt from Bisping, and Bisping did it when he answered the call and fought Luke Rockhold. I think you just have to hanging around. I think that's the key to it. Not worrying about it or not creating the road to the title.
But you have to somewhat be in shape all the time for something like that. I just don't know how much hunger that guy still has.
Right. So
make a lot of money.
He just has to win, and then next thing you know, there'll be another fighter that loses an opponent. You want to step Anderson, kind of like he did for Daniel Cormier. Yeah, sure. And then you just hang around, and maybe there's an opportunity. More than likely, there won't be, but maybe there will be. All right. Would he ever consider moving to light heavyweight? Let's hear that one. Cut number 4.
It's not easy for fights for big guys, and especially in UFC. UFC have a big guys and good fighters. But I'm training hard. I'm training a lot for challenge. And all challenge in my life is just try to prove how much my martial arts skills is important and is helped me to continue in this sport.
Somebody asked him about Conor recently, and he said, yeah, maybe at 180 he would entertain it. I can only tell you this. I was at the Rumble on the Rock tournament in 2005, 2006. Anderson Silva was in it. He weighed in at 175. I saw him do it with my own eyes. He's actually more of an undersized 185er. And this is one where you'd have to go up 20 pounds, not 10. It's not like 25 to 35, 35, 45. It's nothing like that. You'd have to go up. So I think that's why he's really never had the biggest interest in it in that fight, because he'd be taking on someone considerably bigger. Now,
would you have
that
any interest
said,
in
he
that?
fought Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, but I think he knows that was peak Anderson Silva. What?
Would you have any interest in that, Conor McGregor?
No, until
That
they go,
high?
it's about to start. Then I'd sit down and go, fuck yeah, I'll watch it. But I didn't have interest in Diaz and Anderson, but it turned out to be interesting to watch them fight. Probably because Diaz tricked him. He was really like cool and bowing and shaking hands. And when the fight started, he turned into a gangster.
Oh, he took a nap?
I think that threw Silva off. But yeah, I'm not a big proponent of that fight. But like I said, once it's made and once we're here, I'm definitely watching. Okay, if we have a chance, we'll circle back to a few of the other ones. Right now, we're going to take a break because we have two guests coming up. First one's going to be UFC heavyweight Walt Harris. He's going to join us. He's fighting on May 4th. He's got a fight coming up against Sergey Spivak at UFC on ESPN +8. So we'll talk to him about that fight. Don't touch that dial. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, channel 156.
Take it away, ladies.
All right, let me do a couple quick plugs here. Chris Curtis was our first guest on Twitter, ActionMan513. Walt Harris is our next guest, The Big Ticket 205. Give him a follow on Twitter. Let them know you heard him on the @MMA Junkie Radio Show with @MMA Junkie George and @The Goes. Walt Harris has a fight coming up. He's fighting at UFC on ESPN +8. It's also known as the Iaquinta versus Cowboy card in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It takes place on May 4th, and you can watch the fights on ESPN Plus. That's the prelims and the main card. I know a lot of you have been hesitant. You had some problems. Get used to it. I promise you. And I'm not getting paid by them, and I don't work for the UFC. They will figure it out, man. Come on, it's a sports leader, and you'll be enjoying MMA just like you did in the past. Now, Walt Harris is going to be fighting Sergey Spivak, and these are heavyweights. Walt joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Walt? Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. No, the pleasure is ours. Excited to see you, show up on the radar as having a fight coming up. Because if I'm not mistaken, you were going to fight this weekend, right, in Russia, and then you got
I was supposed to be fighting Alexa.
Right. And so you got shifted over to this card here. So that's that. We only have to wait an extra week. I'm a big fan of yours, and the reason is because the first fight, you held up to something that sometimes fighters don't do. You said you were going to change the heavy. I mean, we're talking about like 5 years ago. It was when you fought Jared Rosholt. You said, I'm going to be unlike any other fighter. I'm going to use my athleticism from basketball. And, of course, I was sitting there going, yeah. They all say that. But sure enough, man, you really do have some really nice athletic skills that you put on display from time to time. So that's something I've always hung on to these past 5 years, the fact that you really did sprinkle something different in the heavyweight division.
I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah. Now, the question is, have you found it to be beneficial? Like, I know you want to entertain, and I know you want to use those skills, but have you put them on the back burner, or do you still try and put them on display whenever you can?
I still try to use them, but my game's more well-rounded now. When you first talked to me, I was a one-dimensional fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a knockout artist, a guy who was trying to, take your head off with every punch. And now I've rounded my game out, to wrestling and jiu-jitsu and different things like that. So.
Right. Yeah, I noticed the heavyweights, it just seems like they have to have their feet planted, their mouthpiece bit on, and they have to be having their hands, close to their faces, because it can all end with one punch, and it doesn't have to be on the button, man. Those 4-ounce gloves are so unforgiving. You can get hit in the temple, behind the ear, and right away you're on shaky legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's a dice roll every time. Sure. That's why I love it, though.
How do you divvy up your time between American Top Team and I believe there's been a little bit of a resurgence in Alabama? You still go home and train or something like that? Is that what I was reading?
Yeah, man, I'm back home. I switched gyms back home, though, so it's giving me new life as far as what I'm trying to do, in 2019. As far as Top Team, I kind of backed off with Top Team a little bit because they keep offering me guys from Top Team, so it's just gotten a little bit weird down there, so, I just decided to do a lot of my camps at home.
I see. Okay. Well, yeah, that was going to be my next question was they always had an abundance of heavyweights there, but I guess if they're always offering them to you, then that kind of makes no sense, right?
Exactly, yeah. And then, it gets weird in the gym. Situations like that, it's too much to be dealing with when you're going into a big fight. So I'd rather just train at home where I can get special attention and focus on, myself and be with my family and my kids and, do that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Hadn't you developed any seniority from some of the newer ones that came over? Like, you were there before JDS, you were there before Arlovsky. So how did that work?
I think it's more or less, it wasn't them, because I used to train with, I never trained with Andre, but I trained with JDS quite a bit. I trained with Alexei quite a bit. It's just kind of one of those things, man, is just, dividing time in the gym in the same place and having all these random people, because everybody's not friends down there, There's so many guys, there's so many fighters, it's awkward, You got certain coaches working with certain guys, and You know, having to come in at different times, and you know how was sparring supposed to work? You know what I mean? Like, we're all heavyweights and we're all supposed to spar at the same time. So it's just, you know, it's just one of those situations where I felt it'd be better to stay in Birmingham and you know, make my name and do my thing here. You know, I'll probably eventually go back down and see some of the guys. I'm friends with everybody down there. You know, I'm still talking to coaches and stuff like that. So, you know, we'll see how it works out in the future.
You said not everyone is friends, but does that also mean that because the gym is so big, are there like enemies or friction? And I'm not asking you for names. I'm just asking you the dynamic of a big gym.
I mean, I wouldn't say enemies, but there's cliques. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think there's just people that hang with certain people or deal with certain people, and you know, others who choose not to. Me, I was always the type of guy who I talk to everybody. It didn't matter if you were an amateur. It didn't matter if you were a world champion. I talk to you. You know, I ask questions. I ask advice. I give advice. You know what I'm saying? That's just my personality. You know, but there is a general vibe in the gym sometimes, especially over the last 2 years. You know, things have definitely changed. It's become more of a business, and you know, whereas when I got there, it was a family. You know what I mean? It was about, you know, one team, you know, one goal, which is still that way in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of guys coming up that are going to be having to fight each other and having to deal with each other, and a lot of the old blood has kind of left the gym. So you know, it is what it is. You know.
Walt Harris is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's fighting on May 4th at UFC Fight Night 150. Another way of saying it. It's also UFC on ESPN Plus 8, or it's UFC Iaquinta versus Cowboy. I'm so fucking confused. We got to figure that one out. I think we go by the plus system on MMA Junkie. But I do know this. He's fighting Sergey Spivak. All right, Goes. What do you have for Walt Harris?
Walt, would you say at this point in your career, you are in your prime, and with this streak that you're on, is this the big run?
Yes, this is definitely the big run. I'm definitely in the prime of my career. The light bulbs are definitely going on for me, you know, as far as just bringing my game together and making it all click. I think, you know, I set a goal for 2019 to be a big year for me, and, you know, it ended off 2018 pretty well. So, you know, I'm just trying to keep that run going and stay focused and keep getting better, stay humble, and just stay in the gym, man. That's the difference in, you know, me being at the gym that I was at and the gym that I'm at now. It's all day, you know what I mean? It's not like, I got a training camp, or I got a fight coming up, I need to be in training camp. I'm not fighting, I'm training, you know what I mean? And that's a part of my career and an aspect of my career that was missing for a long time. And when I wasn't at Top Team, when I would come home, I didn't have consistent training, I didn't have consistent partners, and that bothered me, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm a loyal guy, so I stuck around, but it came to a point where I felt like I wanted to go to the next level. And in order to do that, I had to make some changes in my personal life, and that's what I did.
Walt, those changes and like the specialized training, now people putting more of the focus just on you, does that also cost more for a fighter to have to do?
No, it doesn't. It's actually the same exact thing I was paying at Top Team, you know, I'm paying there. But the thing about being home and Top Team is the bodies. I mean, that's the one difference in Top Team and being here. Whereas we've got 4, maybe 3 or 4 heavyweights. At Top Team, there's like 20, you know what I mean? And then there's heavyweights that aren't even in the UFC that come in, and you know, so there's always a consistent amount of different people to work with. That's the one difference. But at this point in my career, it's not about how many people I can get a different look from. It's about me making sure I'm at the top of my game when I step in there now. You know, whereas early in my career, that's what I was focused on, because I needed that exposure. I needed to know where I was at level-wise. I needed to see what I need to do. Now I know I can hang with anybody in the world. I just need to be prepared. I need to be in shape on that fight night.
Well, this is a very difficult sport that has a lot of ups and downs. Do you still love what you do?
I absolutely do, man. You know, at times I'm like, man, it's fucking driving me crazy. But you know, it's a part of who I am, man. To stay consistent and keep working, no matter what I go through, no matter you know, what happens in my life. I always try to bounce back, because I'm not a quitter. You know what I mean? I just don't believe in giving up on anything I start. And I absolutely still love fighting. I mean, I have so much more to accomplish and so many more things to do. That's what keeps me going.
Man, I'm going to have to call him out for something.
Oh,
He
yeah?
did quit one time.
When's that?
He used to come in studio, and then he quit coming around.
Yeah.
When you coming back to Vegas? When you come hang out in the studio?
Oh no! Let me tell you a story. When he won his last fight, I saw him at Adam Hunter's show along with Eric Anders and a few other guys. Charles Rosa, saw them. We went through the whole hug thing. How you been? This that. And I go, how long are you in town? And he goes, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I go, oh, cool. Love to have you in studio. He goes, I'm down. Once again, brought it in for a hug. Cool. And then when I followed up, he must have been partying or some shit because he totally gave us the Heisman.
Yeah,
he was like, gotta bounce. Things changed. We out. And I'm like, all right, player. I'll remember this. You know. So yeah, I'm a little bitter as well.
Bro, listen, we had a good time in Vegas, man. Oh my God. So yeah, I probably would have been no good in that studio. I'm gonna be honest, but I got you. I'm coming to Vegas. I'm trying to come after this fight. Actually, I'm trying to go back out to the PI for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
And just hang out, train, and kick it with all the people out there at the PI. So I'm gonna swing by the studio, man.
I know Vegas is one of those towns. I hear you.
You know what I mean? I hate to just show up and then you have like a freaking world champion in there, and you're like, yeah, well, we don't have time to talk to you right now.
No, we would never do that. But I get it. It's Vegas, and you guys were having a good time. You guys had a good crew out there. It was a fun time, and I know how Vegas is, so don't sweat it. We're just busting balls. But listen, man, thanks so much for the time, and we will be stalking though your social media. So when we see that you're in Vegas, we'll be jocking you to get you in here in studio. You can co-host the whole 2 hours with us.
Yeah, bro, I would love to do that. That'd be my honor, man.
All right, Walt. In the meantime, hope you have a safe camp, and you don't have much of a weight cut. You don't have a weight cut, so I always tell the fighters, hope you have a safe weight cut, but you're a heavyweight, so you're good. You're good there. Safe travels to Ottawa, and good luck on May 4th.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate both you guys, man.
Okay. All right, take care, my man. See ya. There you go. Walt Harris. Super cool dude. Been fun following his career the last few years. All right, I think we're right on point here. Now, the next guest that's coming up will be Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former WBA lightweight champion, and now working as a boxing analyst in studio and also ringside calling the fights. There's some fights coming up this weekend, and it's in L.A. as not Amir Khan. Sorry, that's the one in New York. Sorry. We have. Sorry about that.
Danny Garcia
yes.
and Adrian Granado.
Where's my sheet here? I'm looking at my sheet and I lost it. Yeah, Danny Garcia is going to be fighting Adrian Granado, and we'll bring him on when he comes back. Sorry, I totally lost my notes. We'll be right back at MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 156. Whatever sport you follow and wherever you've got a piece of the action, Fantasy Sports Radio has you covered. Listen for fantasy baseball news, advice, and strategy, NBA playoff picks, and NFL draft preview from the fantasy football perspective. Be a winner by listening to Fantasy Sports Radio on Sirius 210, XM87, streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. All right, our next guest is ready to go. His name is Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former WBA lightweight champion. He'll be calling the fights along with Sean Porter and Chris Myers on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is Saturday night's Fox PBC Fight Night. And the main event features Adrian Granados against Danny Garcia, and this is at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, formerly known as or StubHub Center, and then remember started off as Home Depot goes? Mm-hmm. That's the one. We're former SoCalers, so we a little bit out of touch. All right, joining us now is Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Hello, Boom Boom. How you doing?
Hey, all right, guys. How you doing?
Good, good. Did you fight outdoors a lot in your career, or was it mostly arenas for you?
Actually, no, mainly arenas. I fought out twice outdoors in my time, twice outdoor, and it's a great experience, man. It's a great experience. You know, you got to depend on the weather, obviously.
Right.
But when you do it, man, it's great. It's great. It's a great event, man. It looks good on television too.
I in no way want to jinx the card, but I actually saw MMA out there in that same stadium that you guys are going to be. But the fighters were slipping, and it all has to do with just the canvas because it's close to the ocean and all that
moisture.
stuff. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, moisture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to make sure your boots, shoes, got to get the right rubber. Get that rosin on the shoe, so you're not slipping. Because a lot of the old timers, still there were some guys who were still wearing the leather bottoms when they came, when they start fighting, and then you were slip and slide, man. That was an adventure. Try to fight with those, But you got to get the rubber bottoms, man, and you get that moisture on the canvas. Yeah, it could be a headache. That's for sure.
How much did a good pair of shoes or whatever boots cost you for a professional boxer?
Well, look, in 30 years, obviously they've gone up.
Right.
Boxing shoes and wrestling shoes. Wrestling shoes. Boxing shoes are basically the same in a sense with the bottoms, but the wrestling shoes are a little shorter. Boxer, come a little higher. But look, $50, $60 at that time, which I'm sure is, almost over 100 now. I'm sure it's over 100 now to get it right. And at the time, and then we didn't have no big name brand. There was still, Everlast, which is the big first name of boxing. Toughwear. There was a company, Toughwear would make them. But I'm sure now. I'm sure some of the shoe companies, I'm sure they're making them stuff like that for or if you could make a deal with a company, I'm sure they could, especially if you climb the ladder and you get to a certain point, I'm sure they'd custom make them for you.
What's the most you ever spent on a robe, champ?
Oh, on a robe? Well, there was a woman back in my hometown who made all my robes as an amateur and pro. She was family friends, and she did it for me forever. So she would take money we pay for the material, and I'd get tickets for her and her husband ringside with my family.
That's cool. I have a lot of memories of watching.
Yeah, but you get them custom made. But you could get them custom made though. That was the way you want to do it, of course.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of memories of watching you box in the afternoons on CBS Sports with Gil Clancy and Tim Brandt. Because now, even though we host an MMA show, we talk about all the combat sports. We love boxing. But my first love was boxing. So this is a really, really cool experience for us right now, talking to you.
Well, it's great. Look, MMA now took over boxing for a long time. And not that it's declining by no means, but people used to say to me, what does boxing have to do to get back into the forefront? What does that do to overtake MMA? I said, without network television, we'll never have the same popularity that we once had. Well, now, boom, we hit the juggernaut because now we're get to fight the deal with PBC on Fox. Fox has brought us to the forefront. It's significant, man. It's significant for the game. It's significant for the fighters because now people are not only going to know the names, we're able to put a face to them. I knew a lot of fighters' names, but I couldn't tell you who they were. And now we know we have a face to put with the name. And prime time, Saturday night, oh man, they're going to become stars. These guys are going to be matinee idols.
Yeah.
And so it was great for the game. And much like they did with a lot of the MMA guys, when they were on Fox. Mm-hmm. So, look, both sports. You could be a fan, like as you said, of all combat sports. You don't have to be a fan of one or the other. You could be a fan of all of it, which I am. Which I am also. So it's great to watch.
And I've heard you train jiu-jitsu as well. I mean, at least that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I did. I trained jiu-jitsu for about almost 12 years with Hanato Magno over here at Street Sport Jiu-Jitsu in Santa Monica. And Hanato is part of the Machado family, and it's all Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But Hanato is really terrific. He's one of the great trainers. And I got to my purple belt, man. I got my purple belt. I thought I won the world title. I put it on. I ran around like I was, jumping around with my hands up like I won the title, man.
Wow.
And I wore when I had the purple. I wore it to lunch. I wore it for the rest of the day. I couldn't take it off. Lunch everywhere.
A purple belt is legit. I mean, you have to put in your time, and you're a badass. I think blue belts already are pretty legit, but to get the purple and eventually keep climbing, you have to have some jiu-jitsu skills.
I haven't trained I haven't rolled for a while. That's all right. 'Cause my body feels too good. I meant to go. My body feels too good.
We're on the phone here with Ray Boom Boom Mancini. He'll be calling the fights this weekend. Fox Sports PBC. They got a quality main event of Adrian Granados versus Danny Garcia, and this is at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's with Chris Myers and Sean Porter. However, they get everything started on Friday night, the weigh-in show on FS1 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. All right, let me turn it over to my partner here. Goes. What do you have for Ray Boom Boom Mancini?
Ray, so the thing that I love about former boxers when they do color commentary is they all stand out between each other. They all have different styles. If you look at Paulie Malignaggi, Roy Jones Jr., everybody has their own style. Right. Where do you feel you fit in that scheme? Like, what would you say is your style of calling fights?
Well, the style I have, and look, and that was one thing Fox, when they told me when they hired me, is I tell people, look, if I'm going to tell fighters, I'm a lover of fighters. But if you stink to join on, I'm going to call you out on it. Because we have an obligation as fighters to put on the show. We're entertainers too, but you have an obligation to the paying sports, to the fans, to give them the best show possible. So that means, look, you got to be fan-friendly. Now, some guys, even if you're defensive guys, pick up the pace a little bit, but you got to be fan-friendly. You can't stink out the joint. And I tell people, I will never question a guy's heart or his talent. Because obviously you get in the ring, you get the heart, and if you're fighting on national television, you get the talent. But what I will question is desire, his training, is commitment to the sport. I will challenge that. If you're good, like I said, if you're not going to become 100%, the best shape possible, and if you're going to like clutch, grab, and stink out the place, no, I'm going to call you on it, man. You have no business being on TV. So my style is that kind of, I'm coming forward. My style of commentary is sort of like my fighting. I'm coming at you. I'm gonna catch full force. But hey, but you give us the show possible. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna say I'm gonna praise you and say what a great fighter. And I'm gonna build you up. But man, everyone has an obligation to the fans to give them the best show possible. And as long as they understand that, then we're in good shape.
Ray, this fight here, can it be goosebump worthy? And if so, when do you think those start to kick in for you calling the fights?
Well, first of all, the fight's going to be a kick-ass fight. You got styles make fights, as we know in all combat sports. Styles make fights. You got one guy in Danny Garcia he's a counter puncher. He's a big puncher with that left hook, and he's a big puncher with the left hook, and in the right hand, he got a good right hand. But he's a counter puncher, and he sets traps for you. So Adrian Granados, though, is the guy who comes forward. He throws punches and bunches. So he's got to wear Danny down with a volume of punches. He's got to stay on top of Danny. Don't give Danny a chance to set up. Danny's going to try to set them traps for Adrian, and then get them traps caught later on.
Now, tell me about this resurgence of boxing. When Floyd and Manny were winding down, a lot of people felt like, wow, maybe boxing might drop off a little bit, and it's been the exact opposite. I mean, we're here at the Mandalay Bay, and we're looking at all the big names that are fighting soon. Crawford, Garcia, we got Canelo in a few weeks, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua had a fight until it fell apart a couple days ago. But do you think it's it's coming back to mainstream television, like you guys on Fox on Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, or was it just a lot of talent that was being cultivated outside of the big names that I mentioned earlier?
No. It needed it back on network television. Look, a lot of people are down on the pay-per-view, especially after the Mayweather-Pacquiao. That was the biggest money grab going. That stunk out the joint, man. That fight there killed pay-per-view for a long time. Believe me, certain fights of pay-per-view. That was a pay-per-view fight. It just didn't live up to the hype, and that's what the problem is. So now, people are down on the sport because people think it's a rip-off and this and that, but so they don't want to pay for no pay-per-view, and even cable. Look, there's a lot of families that can't afford pay-per-view. I mean, not cable television on a regular basis, so they don't have cable. So what they have is the 3 channels or the 4 channels now, and Fox is the 4th channel. So that's now major. It's like I said, it's significant, and it's imperative to have it on network television for the fans to get back into it, and it is. So it's been great. It's been great. Fox, look, it was tremendous what they did, and they made a big commitment to the sport. And like I said, the fans are going to love it, and it's going to bring boxing back on a regular basis. And now the people are going to know who the fighters are, and they're going to make stars out of these guys. And people are going to follow them and watch them. So when they become pay-per-view stars, they're going to be worthy of it, because not everyone's a pay-per-view star. Not every fight's a pay-per-view fight.
Right.
Back in the day, both guys had to be the A side. Now they got the A side, the B side. Oh crap! Both guys have to be the A side. So this is what Fox is doing. Fox is, man, and they're at the forefront of the game now, man. It's really special what they're doing. And I'm so proud to be part of it. Really am.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, and again, he'll be a analyst for Fox Sports for the weigh-in show Friday, FS1 at 6 p.m. Eastern with Sean Porter and Chris Myers, and then Saturday night back in the studio for Fox PBC Fight Night at 8 p.m. Eastern start time, 5 Pacific, and it's Danny Garcia against Adrian Granados. All right, Boom Boom, I wanted to ask you a question. These young fighters, I'm sure they come to you asking for a tip or some advice. What's the most common thing that you do get asked, being that you're a former world champion, a boxing Hall of Famer, and what advice do you like to give these young cats?
Well, first of all, it kind of baffles me sometimes. They say, a lot of them ask about my diet. What did you eat before a fight? And I'm thinking, you're a champion and you're a pro. You should know what you should eat. But, and I tell them a little bit about my diet, and I said, but that's when we had to make weight the morning of. If I could have weighed in the day before, I mean, it's a whole different game. I told Bob Arum one time, why don't you weigh him in the week before? Because what difference does it make? Because he ain't coming in at the right weight anyhow. If you weigh in the day before, it ain't going to be the weight you're supposed to be fighting at. You're supposed to be weighing the morning of. That was the way it was forever. 8 o'clock the morning of. Because if you can't make weight the morning of, you have no business fighting in that weight class. So, so most of the guys ask me about diet, man. And then a lot of times they'll say, did you have a conditioning coach? I said, yeah. Did you have a strength coach? I said, yeah. Did you have a masseur? I said, yeah, I have a masseur. And I had all of that good stuff. I said, it just happened to be the same guy. One guy. That's what a trainer is supposed to be for you. One guy. So this is why, now you got 5 guys. How could these trainers get into a fighter? Because you got to know when they peak at the right time. You got 5 different guys training the guy. How do you know when he's going to peak at the right time? Because they got too many guys. Too many guys, man. Too many people. Should be the one guy. Should be everything for you.
Right.
So when they ask me, I tell them about diet. They ask me something about training. About road work. I tell them, man, you got to peak at the right time. So you cut down going toward as you come closer to the fight. So that's the thing. Then they'll talk about fighters. Ask me about some of the fighters. At my day, the great fighters of Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran and Lex Arguello and all them. And what were they like? Because I said, they're humble guys, man. They're great guys, great champions, but they're humble guys on the outside.
Yeah.
A champion is a champion inside and outside the ring. Be a humble guy. Don't need to be talking about yourself and all that stuff. Let others do it for you. So
perfect
I
advice.
think that's good. It's good that they ask.
Yeah.
It's good that they ask about these guys. You should know who the predecessors are.
Great stuff there from Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Thank you so much for joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio.
Hey.
We really enjoyed the time, and we'll definitely be tuning in Friday for the weigh-in show, Saturday night for the fight. It's going to be a good one between Garcia and Granados.
It was my pleasure, gentlemen. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. All right. Big Fox, folks, on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. You're going to like it. Danny Garcia's been around for a long time, and the hard-hitting Adrian Granados is going to be a formidable foe. That's Channel 11, back if you're in SoCal. It's Channel 5 if you're in Vegas. Otherwise, check your local listings. But come on, who doesn't have Big Fox? Big shout-out to John Stauffer for lining that one up. All right, that was cool, huh, Gus?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former WBA lightweight champion, had about 4 or 5 title defenses, a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He's the man. All right. I want to thank all of our guests for today, including Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Walt Harris, and Chris Curtis. That was a fun show. All 3 guests were really, really great chats.
Mm-hmm. They're all in good moods.
Yeah. Shout out to Goes for lining up the Harris interview. And again, shout out to Savage. He's a Savage over at PFL for lining up Chris Curtis. Tomorrow, Brent Primus will stop by. Don Fry. Is that locked in?
Yes, sir.
And then can we announce the other special outside the box guest?
Better not.
Really?
I think so, but yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, it's more for you and Josh because you guys are more music guys. But, hey, I'm sure I'll be having a blast. You guys are going to have fun. I think we're pretty set on locking it in, so you'll just have to check out the guest preview. Every day on MMA Junkie, we have a preview of all of our guests, and we also put the show up there with different links. And, of course, if you miss any part of the show, you can catch the show on SiriusXM's fabulous app, commercial-free and in HD quality. We're out of here. We'll see you in 22 hours. For Josh and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be a champion.